Hey guys, Greg here. Let's talk about some recent thrift store finds and some record store day records that I have. I have not been doing a great job of controlling my thrift store addiction. That was actually one of my New Year's resolutions, is to go to the thrift store only twice a month, and I still go several times a week. What can I say? I'm trying to spend less money on junk and not fill up my house with junk, but here we are. And I did, as you may know, befriend Mr. Rob from the Waxed, and he's a thrift store, a supreme thrift store guy. So we've been out a couple days to some thrift stores together, and he teaches me what to look for. Let's get into it. This is first is a pile of stuff I got yesterday on my own without any help from any of you people. And thrift store by my house called Council Thrift Shop, which I think is a Jewish charity. They had a ton of Dave Brubeck and Paul Desmond. Like, somebody gave away a zillion. I ended up with this one, Paul Desmond Live, Paul Desmond Quartet, on the Horizon label. Horizon is kind of a rare and sort of boutique-y little jazz label. They've done good things with Charlie Hayden and Jim Hall. They always do gatefolds. They always do nice liner notes. 2 record set for the $3, and seem to be going for 15 to 20 bucks online. So that's a good set for $3. Although this is one of those things later in their career. Haven't heard it yet. Appears to be clean. Plastic inner sleeves, always good. Paul Desmond. And then they also had a ton of stuff on Pablo. Pablo is the label that was done later in life by Norman Granz, the guy who gave us Verve, another record label. So he just kind of recorded folks later in life that he had managed or produced or palled around with. So this is Count Basie and Oscar Peterson, Nightrider, recorded 1978. Pretty clean copy. They had a whole bunch of Pablo stuff. I just chose that one. And likewise, they had a bunch of Wes Montgomery, and I don't think I have this one in my collection. On the A&M, which is CTI, some of more of the commercially Wes Montgomery stuff. But these CTI records usually sound great. They're not super jazzy. There are a lot of pop songs sometimes. What's it got on here? Willow Weep for Me. The Joker. Is that the Steve Miller song? I haven't listened to this yet. When a Man Loves a Woman, Day in the Life. Oh, it's got a big sort of orchestra on it, which I'm not crazy about. Ron Carter, Herbie Hancock, Grady Tate. Super Lush. This is one of the few Wes Montgomerys that I don't already have. There's Wes. Okay. And the same label, George Benson. George Benson did some nice stuff on the CTI label before he went into his singing poppy career. But A Day in the Life, again, no, that was A Day in the Life. Shape of Things to Come. Similar artwork throughout. I already have a copy of this that's in worse shape. I think I have a moldy copy of this that I got for $6. There's a less moldy copy for $3. A&M. So I think CTI was part of A&M, and then they broke off onto their own. Anything in there? Okay. Last record from yesterday's thrift shop run. Ellington at Newport, and this is probably an upgrade copy for me. 1956 Newport, Rhode Island Jazz Festival. Duke Ellington was already, pretty advanced in his career at this point. He was sort of trying to mount a comeback, and this might have been one of the records that helped his comeback, but he already had Miles Davis and Hard Bop, so this is kind of throwback jazz, even for the 50s. But this is a 6i Columbia, and it did come in a nice plastic sleeve, and the vinyl appears to be extremely clean, and I'm pretty sure I have a more beat up copy around here somewhere. So no, let's get into the other time I went out with Rob, the Waxed. And we had a bunch of Goodwills and a couple of record stores. The first Goodwill we went to, I found something crazy, which I haven't shown you guys yet. This is an anime soundtrack 3 record set from some anime thing called Samurai Champloo. I have no idea what anime is. I have no idea what a Samurai Champloo is. The Way of the Samurai Vinyl Collection, 2006, Man Globe Records. We think this might be worth $150 to $200. If it was the purple reissue, some of those are going for $300, but I listened to some of it. It might end up on eBay someday. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. And the most contentious record of that day was the great... Well, this was the second most contentious. This is part of the great Waldron controversy. Waldron Trio, Free at Last. This is apparently the very first release on ECM Records, the great ECM, going back to November 1969. Manfred Eicher, you all know that whole story, hopefully. ECM, probably my second favorite jazz label after Blue Note. Waldron is like a guy I only sort of started paying attention to in the last couple of years, and it's hard to find his stuff on vinyl. So I walked into this record store. I went right for the W's. I grabbed a Waldron, and it wasn't this one. It was the other one that Rob may have shown on his channel, but this one is not bad. It's not the most desirable, but it's, I got it for a halfway decent price. I got it for less than the shown price here. Waldron's jazz is a little bit, this is kind of considered avant-garde jazz, but it's on the more accessible side of avant-garde, and it's on the more avant-garde side of accessible jazz. His playing style is what I would call percussive. It's not fluid and lovely like Bill Evans. It's percussive and got a real attack to it. He pounds on the piano. Let's put it that way. But he's written a lot of great songs, and he's been sideman on a lot of great records. Hard to find his old stuff. So let's talk about Record Store Day. Record Store Day, I went to an estate sale. 6:30, get here early for this estate sale, and there's a bunch of vinyl records. And I got there, and estate sale, they should be $1, they should be $2. And I get there, and there's 3, crates full of records, and at the front of each crate is a price list. I'm like, what? And like the very first record in there was a classical record that's nothing special. It was $25. Like, okay, this is a joke. All these records are $8, $10, $15, $20, and some older gentleman was getting some Eric Clapton for $8. That's reasonable, but when I go to an estate sale or a thrift shop, I want to pay $2, $1, 50 cents. Give me a break, people. Price of vinyl's going crazy. That's just the way it is right now. You may be sitting on gold in that attic. So anyway, Record Store Day. Let's fast forward to Record Store Day. I'll leave those 3 Record Store Days for last, because here's a Goodwill record I showed on my Instagram the other day, and I actually played this. And please follow me on Instagram, by the way, Vinyl Rundown. I follow everybody in the vinyl community that I can find. I post a lot of records and other weird stuff, but Instagram. So this I posted Louis Armstrong and his Hot 5 Columbia Records. Album number 10 in a series of reissues. These are 78 RPMs. This is an actual record album, meaning it's a booklet full of records. That was what the word record album used to mean. These are all 78 RPM. Very delicate. I probably got this at a Goodwill for probably $3 or $4, but I don't think I ever showed it. So this is a reissue from 1948, so it was already 20 years old when it was reissued. Louis Armstrong did all of his most significant work in the late 20s, between like 1925 and 1928 or 29, and he released single after single on 78 RPM. And Louis Armstrong, we call him out of greater respect, and his Hot 5 and his Hot 7. Those are his most classic records. I mean, you might associate him with stuff he did in the 60s, What a Wonderful World. That's really not a jazz record. I mean, that's a very famous record, great song, but his trumpet playing, his impact on early jazz as a soloist, that was from the late 1920s. By the time albums came out, he was already in his 50s, so there's a nice little write-up on the inner sleeve there. And in the back, there's this cute little price list. and it lists the price of all these Columbia records based on the genre, which I think is kind of funny. Popular records, 50 cents a record. That's how records were sold back then. Let's go through some of the titles, because there's some cool titles on here. Skidot Didot, Muskrat Ramble, and Gut Bucket Blues. I got a new 78 player, so you may be hearing more of this type of stuff from me. Classic old jazz, a reissue. Let's go to Record Store Day. I did not go to Record Store Day, but I ended up with 7 or 8 discs here. And you may have heard about them because I haven't stopped yakking about the fact that I interviewed Zev Feldman, the producer of these classic reissues. Well, they're not reissues, they're issued for the first time. Zev Feldman, either on Resonance Records, or this is Reel to Reel Records. Roy Brooks, the great drummer, who played with a lot of great people. Does it say on here? This one has Cecil McBee on it and Harold Mayburn. Woody Shaw's trumpet playing is fantastic on here. This is a 3-record set, massive live performance from the Baltimore, famous ballroom in Baltimore, as it was called. Moving right along, Charles Lloyd, the great saxophone player. Manhattan Stories, 2 different club dates he did in Manhattan. You got Ron Carter. You got Gabor Jabot, the Hungarian guitar player. And you got the great Pete LaRocca on drums, who played with Coltrane, and he released that classic Blue Note record not too long ago. Here it says Pete LaRocca Sims. I've never seen him credited like that. This has the roughest sound of these 3. Again, it's a club date, and this is my 3rd favorite of these 3. The favorite, and the one that's getting the most critical acclaim, it's been featured in the New York Times and NPR and a bunch of things. Roy Hargrove on trumpet. Let's pause for the helicopter. Roy Hargrove on trumpet and Mulgrew Miller on piano in harmony. Just the 2 of them together, it's a duet. This is a live show at the Kaufman Music Center. What's that? 2006, and another performance in 2007. These are kind of special performances because they're so intimate. It's just 2 guys interplaying and improvising off of each other. Classic old tunes, but very improvisational. Really shows the talent of guys playing without a net. No bass, no drums. It's up to you to carry the melody and the chord changes and everything. A lot of classic tunes. What is this thing called? Love, Invitation, Triste, Monk's Dream, Ruby My Dear, I Remember Clifford. Came out digitally yesterday, so Record Store Day, and has it only been 1 week later that we've got the digital and CDs and download stuff are available. Is that everything to show you today, guys? I think that is it. Thank you for watching. Consider subscribing if you like to hear somebody rant about old, mediocre, scratched records. Please consider subscribing. I will subscribe back to you if you have a channel on YouTube. So thanks for watching. Have a good one.